the other image is when Tan Si Leng finished the quip. Everyone in the background, you know that laughter, right?
Yeah.
It brought me back to all those workplace meetings, right? When someone make a joke in Mandarin and laugh, and I'm just sitting there like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
What's the deal? Yeah, because all them background, they were like whacking the tables and rostrums. Then Shanmugam also go and share on Facebook.
Maybe he speaks Cantonese, I don't know. Maybe he enjoys Cantonese movies. We know he likes to watch French movies, but I don't know about Cantonese movies.
But that also feels, his tone was also condescending. Like,
I see.
You know?
Okay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
How was the weekend, man?
That was good. Buzzing because of the high from our live show last Thursday evening. Very nice to always see Yalabat listeners, take photos with them, and try out a new format as well, right? Where we literally are recording an episode of a typical Yalabat episode in front of a live audience.
Yeah, and by typical, you mean not so much of those looking back at our favorite episodes, which was the format for previous live shows.
Yeah.
But for this one, we literally talked about two news topics from the day itself.
Yeah.
And I know, like, before recording, I was like, oh shit, like, are people going to be entertained? But in fact, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
I felt like this feels more natural compared to the previous versions where we were looking back at the episodes. So, overall, and the benchmark for me is like, if at the start, if I enter and take the stage for the first 5-10 minutes, if I'm not sweating profusely, right, then I know I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Correct.
For you?
I mean, we've asked the question of ourselves a lot of times, right? Like, who the hell or why the hell do people want to come and listen to us?
Yeah.
Do an episode
Thursday night, some more.
On a Thursday night in CBD area and everything, right? But yeah, I'm always very pleasantly surprised by the turnout at the end. And yeah, after that, I feel like people genuinely want to either come and engage with us, ask us questions, or just tell us about how long they've been listening to it and why it's been helpful to them. Why Yalaba has meant a lot to them, right? Yeah. What was your one anecdote of the evening that shook?
There was that couple who came up to us who showed us a picture that we had taken with them outside of Parliament.
Yes.
2 years ago, which they had gone to after listening to our podcast, talk about going to Parliament.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's like, cool, come full circle, and the fact that they're still listening to us, came for our live show is epic lah.
Yeah, and I think they roped in another friend of theirs to come listen. Then that friend roped in
his partner
to come and listen also. Right? So it's come full circle lah, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it was great lah. It was great. For you?
It was very, very, very cool. I really wish we could fit more people also, because it does seem like there is demand for the shows, right? And we haven't tried it in front of a big audience or anything before, so yeah, we'll see, right?
Yeah. Correct. That's the goal at some point, right? Now it's very intimate. You can almost see the expressions on our faces. But imagine if it's a big ass venue, right?
Yeah.
Like a once in a year thing. Ooh.
This when Lady Gaga was first starting out in New York City.
Correct.
She played underground ballrooms, like maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
And now she's coming to Singapore to play 3 nights.
4?
4? Is it 4 nights?
I thought it's 4.
I thought it's 3.
Oh, it's 3.
I think 3 nights at the National Stadium.
Oh.
Yeah, not
in May lah.
In May, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone starts somewhere lah, right?
Yeah. I was surprised that she can 4 concerts, dude.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, 4.
They just upped it to 4, or was it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was 18, 19, 21, and then 24.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. And of course, Tong Tong's at the center of it again.
I'm sure, yeah.
And the only stop in Asia.
Yeah.
Damn.
We're doing it again.
Damn. We're doing
but
it again.
other than that, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good lah. Just did stuff with our kid.
That fog.
Yeah, it's like then some friend time, family time, mix of everything lah. So by the end of it was just zonked lah.
Seriously. Zonked in general. Yeah.
You?
I taught my kid learned how to ride a bicycle. Like pedal bicycle.
Shit.
So it's one of those milestones that as a dad, I think everyone thinks you're told, right?
Yeah,
That's one moment. And it really is, because just psychomotor-wise, it's not easy, man, to balance and paddle and watch where you're going all at the same time. So kudos to him.
So what, there was a moment where he went off.
Yeah. We did the whole TikTok thing where, they encourage you to put a towel around the child, then you hold the towel, and then they write, then you slowly loosen the towel over time. I think I did it for like 5 minutes, but after that, he just sort of just went off on his own.
But before that, he was cycling like with the pedals, with the safety pedals at the side or something.
We've been training him on a balance bike the last few months. So he's very good on a balance bike.
And then
they just use their feet. But then I think he's been wanting to do pedals. So we finally okay, let's try. And we thought it would take like a whole weekend to teach him or something. But no, man, 15 minutes and that's all it took.
Wow. And he confident?
Confident. We cycled to school this morning also.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I mean, still, of course, there's still a bit rough on the edges, like up slope, down slope, braking everything, but good enough to he's confident to do it already. Yeah. So it's just one of those things it's like that. They always tell you when you see your kid for the first time, that kind of feeling you get from it. I think this one also is one of those where the milestone is a very big milestone for the child to be able to see them really independent that way already. Because it's like when you learn diving, right? It's not that it's a supreme skill or a great achievement, but you sort of unlock a world of travel, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the same for bicycles also.
I mean, I remember the day I could ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't come at like 4 years old. I think I was older than that. And yeah, my dad was the one kind of holding my seat as he was running. Yeah. Then when he let go, I was cycling. He was happy. I was happy. Then I was so happy that I wanted to just say oh my god! So I braked and then he crashed. He knocked into my bicycle and we both fell down.
Oh, so he was on the bike as well?
No, he was behind me running.
Oh, I see.
He was like, yeah, go. Then I was like, yeah. Then I braked, so he banged into me and we both fell down.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was it's a very special moment.
And that was a precursor to you eventually wearing spandex and zipping down roads. Right?
So surprise, Terence. This is the start of your kid's spandex journey. I know what to get him for his birthday this year. Mini spandex. Mini spandex. That would be great, man.
Yeah,
but I mean, happy moment for him, happy moment for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll experience it again at some point, right?
Oh, solid.
But yeah, when it comes, it's just whoa, didn't know that it would be so fast. It's just over in an instant, 15 minutes, and that was it. If I wasn't there, imagine, you just missed the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, solid. But cool, man.
Cool. But before we, there are a lot of interesting topics. But before we jump to it, what do we always tell people?
That if you enjoying this podcast or you've been listening to for a while, that comes at the end. Do follow us on social media to get shorter snippets of our episodes. Hear of cool shit we're doing, like potentially another live show in the coming months. So it's TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and of course YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah.
And
if you want to work with us, please check out ministryofunny.com or email us at contact@ministryofunny.com.
Sweet. All right. Okay. So, first bit of news.
Yeah.
I mean, it is less about the things that were discussed in Parliament than the actions of individuals when discussing those things.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all know that the Committee of Supply debates were happening last week. And up until a few weeks ago, I wasn't clear what the Committee of Supply debates are, but it's essentially to debate the budget that was announced by the Finance Minister. And every minister of every ministry gave a spiel on the plans for their ministry, answered questions and so on. And they went on for 10 hours each day. The whole of last week.
Correct.
So on 6th, 7th and 8th March, there was a kind of a ping pong between Minister for Manpower Tan Leng and opposition MP Leong in Parliament.
Yeah.
But it culminated in a little quip by Tan Leng where after repeated back and forth, he kind of used a Cantonese phrase from a movie or a song.
A quote. From Andy Lau. In the movie Jianghu from 2004.
Yeah, and I mean, there was laughter in Parliament. And the day, I think today, 10th March, Monday, Leong Man Wai responded to that while seated at a Heartland coffee shop.
In Cantonese, no less.
In Cantonese, yeah. So, I mean, before we go into the details about how this actually came about, what made you want to talk about this, Terence?
I think there's quite a hot debate online, right? Or you not say debate, but you'll see two sides. One is people are very supportive of what Tan See Leng said. Very folksy, very relatable, right? Quoting Andy Lau from a classic Hong Kong movie from the early 2000s. Then the other side, there's also a lot of people online also saying that this was really arrogant, condescending, in the way it was delivered to Leong Man Wai. So that's where we are, the big yellow butt debate going on. Right?
And just to correct myself, I said opposition MP just now. It's opposition is an NC MP, Leong Man Wai.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, in the lead up to this, right? I think I'll try and summarize it because once you go into the details, it's a bit convoluted. So basically, Tan See Leng is the Manpower Minister, and he's the person to present the stats on, employment rates, unemployment rates, the percentage of PMETs in Singapore. So I think 2 months ago at the debate for the workplace discrimination bill, there was a back and forth between Leong Man Wai and Tan See Leng. Basically, Leong Man Wai from then till now has been asking for more details about generally the more details and more stats related to the percentage of PMETs that have become PMETs over the past 10 years. Because I think generally Tan See Leng has been saying that since 2014 to 2024, there's been a huge increase in the number of PMETs in Singapore, which is a positive thing for Singaporeans. But Leong Man Wai is saying that all the data that is publicly available doesn't differentiate between Singaporeans, Singapore-born citizens, or PRs. And he was just asking for more granularity on that. And Tan See Leng would, give him more stats, try and answer his questions, but Leong Man Wai would come back and say, no, you did not answer the question. And I think at the workplace bill debate, Tan See Leng said something about Leong Man Wai wanting to find a smoking gun when there isn't one.
Yeah.
So on 6th of March, Leong Man Wai during the Committee of Supply debates again started the line of questioning about these numbers, and that was the back and forth.
Yep.
And I mean, to sum it up, I think he kept asking the questions, the same questions. Tan See Leng was not giving him the answers he wanted. And towards the end, Tan See Leng just said this quip, which means what, Terence? I'm sure this is something, as a Chinese person, you hear day in, day out. Because that's how you and your brethren talk in general, right?
No. Unfortunately, it's not So I mean, you're asking about the general quote that came out, right? It's context in pop culture or just generally.
I mean, both.
I mean, I don't speak Cantonese, so obviously I'm not, very, very well versed in that area, right? Even the Hong Kong movies that I watched when I was younger, they were already dubbed in Mandarin. So to be able to watch and understand the Cantonese version, it's a very tall order for me. But just from my cursory asking around of people who, speak Cantonese or enjoy Cantonese a bit more, they kind of recognize or have heard of this quote before. And Andy Lau, right? He's one of the Four Heavenly Kings, and also I think it's a gangster movie. So I believe it's a gangster talking to another about this issue. I think Andy Lau saying something to Jackie Chung.
But is the quote as quote worthy as yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, or hasta la vista, baby?
I mean, the fact that I've never heard it before, maybe I'm not that, again, I'm not that well versed or what, but it's just, I mean, it seems to be amongst people who speak Cantonese, they seem to know it. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you would say it's kind of folksy in that way. People who grew up in that era, they would know what it is exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, the translation, which was not provided by Tan See Leng in Parliament, which we will get to, it just means, and I quote, I say, but you don't listen, you listen, but you don't understand, you understand, but you don't do, you do it, but do it wrongly, you do it wrongly, but don't admit, you admit, but don't change, you change, but are not convinced, then what do you want me to do?
Yep.
So that is the culmination of everything. And then Leong Man Wai's response was essentially saying that, what did he say? What did Leong Man Wai say? So he said, it is understandable. I think the person recording the video asked him, does he have any response to that? And what he explained was that he was asking for specific data Dr. Tan refused to provide the separate data, which led to him continuing to question it. And he said, and I quote, "It is understandable. Since the minister is in a high and mighty position, how would he understand the plight of ordinary citizens?"
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he also responded in Cantonese, but there's no translation for that.
There's no translation. I mean, the mothership, you see the video on TikTok on mothership.
Is there
TikTok.
captions?
Yeah, there's captions.
Oh, there's captions. Okay. The one that I found had no captions. Then I was like, hey.
Oh, okay. Do you need me to like read out to you? Or you're generally good with the paraphrasing of
I'm generally good with the paraphrasing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we translate for you.
See, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Because when people don't do that, there's certain feelings that are brought out.
Which actually Tan Leng didn't really translate himself, right?
Yeah.
He just sort of summarized it in English at the end when speaker asked him to translate it, right?
Yeah. But okay, before we get to that, like the argument, because there are a lot of people debating the decorum showed by Tan Leng by doing that, which we can talk about. But the questioning itself, like I think you, like me, we went back and watched those workplace bill discrimination debates, committee of supply debates. Anything stuck out to you?
It was quite even a couple months back already. It's quite a heated exchange already, right?
Yeah.
I would say there was quite a pointed response from Tan Leng about what is the point of this line of questioning, right?
Yeah.
In paraphrasing, but generally the mood was like, are we just trying to sow discord between groups, right? In terms of this line of questioning between locally born Singaporeans and PRs, when the statistics seem to all point towards more jobs for everyone, better, higher incomes for everyone, better paying jobs for everyone, upskilling, upgrading your skills, everything for everyone. Everything seems to be positive, right?
Yeah.
So why keep harping on this? That's the sense I gathered from watching them debate.
Yeah.
What do you see in there?
I mean, because I mean, it was almost like a broken records. Yeah, like Leong would ask the questions, Tan Leng would answer, but then Leong would ask the same questions and Tan Leng would answer then the same questions. And another question he was asking was whether there are any stats about underemployment in Singapore,
correct, yeah.
which I didn't even understand until he explained it. Basically, the analogy is that if you are like a VP at a MNC or something, and then you become a worker of doing something a lot more menial, you are underemployed.
Yeah.
Or if
your skills are not being fully utilized, right?
Yeah. And apparently you can be considered employed even if you're only working 1 or at least 1 hour a week.
Yeah, part-time.
Part-time. So that also would qualify as underemployment because again, your skills, your potential is not fully utilized. So he was asking for stats on that, and I think Tan Leng's response was that there's no accurate way of tracking that because there are a lot of things at play. But what I think happened, which I mean, after reading about it, I was like, oh shit, when did this happen? When did that happen? Because for one particular thing, I think it was on the latest day on 8th March when the final questions for Tan Leng, Leong Wan Wai again asked, okay, can you confirm that you do not have the numbers of non-Singaporeans that became Singaporeans or PRs that contributed to the PMET number? And Tan Leng said, I looked at the numbers and just eyeballing it, 63% of the total number of new PMETs across these past 10 years were Singaporeans.
Locally born Singaporeans.
Yeah. And then there was a Straits Times article that came out that also quoted Tan Leng. It was published on 7th March. 7th March, right? So then, I mean, okay, so I think even in Tan Leng's speech, he said, this was a number that I talked about the day before, but I couldn't find it the day before. So all I'm saying is that is this a new number that was disclosed only because of Leong Man Wai's questioning?
I think so. Yeah, I'm also quite surprised that this statistic is not more in the news than what he actually said, like what Tan Leng actually said with the Andy Lau quote. Because it's an important number, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think about the exchange in Parliament, I think this is interesting information.
Yeah.
Knowing that 63% of the PMET growth was from locally born Singaporeans. And that they have this data. And, maybe it's really because of the repeated pressing from Leong Man Wai that we have this data in front of us. That we can talk about it. Right?
Yeah. So if that's the case, and I mean, I don't think we missed it out because both of us came to the same conclusion. Then like something must be said about Leong Man Wai's persistence. Because if this number was there, why was Tan See Leng so apprehensive about sharing it? And I mean, okay, so if you ask me, when I first heard the number, it was lower than I expected.
Well, what were you expecting though?
Like, because he was saying, I mean, even in the speech, right, he said, I eyeballed it, and a majority of Singaporeans made up that number, locally born Singaporeans. And then he said 63%.
But 63, isn't that a majority?
It's a majority lah. But when you say majority, to me, it's like 70%. Like 60+%, yes, it is a majority, but like, it doesn't feel like a majority.
You mean PAP's percentage is not a majority, man?
That's a super majority.
70%, they got 70%.
Yeah, so 70% still feels like that is a like coming into majority play lah. It's like, last time in school also, if you get like 50 plus 60, you
it's a B lah. It's a B grade.
It's a B lah, right? That's why. So this one it feels like it's a B, like a majority minus lah. So that's why I'm like, then, and this is the problem with Tan See Leng's approach lah. It makes me almost think like, wait, is that a good number or is that a bad number? Wait, if he was so apprehensive about disclosing it, maybe it's a bad number.
Correct, yeah.
Is it a bad number? And then I start fucking thinking lah, shit, is this a problem?
But maybe it comes with the lens that you're viewing it as lah, right? Because, given that, I mean, he also brought out some other statistics, and I'm just spitballing. I just remember off the top of my head. I don't have his speech right in front of me. But I think he mentioned something like a lot of about 1/3 of the new jobs were created by foreign firms or so, right?
Yeah,
and so just thinking about that kind of percentage, like the number of foreign firms that are in Singapore as employers, right, and how many jobs they're creating, I mean, 63% is still in that 1/3, 2/3 kind of realm, right? Where they create jobs for both locals and their own foreigners as well, right? Who come from their own respective HQs, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't think of that number as necessarily a negative number. Probably got to unpack it a little bit more to get a better sense of it. But what I did feel is like it's useful to know this number, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that necessarily that Tan See Leng was apprehensive to give it, but I'm sure it probably does take a bit of digging to get that number out as well, right? Because it's not a number that can easily pull out the hat, right?
But then the thing is, that line of questioning started 2 months ago, and even I think during one of the Committee of Supply debates, during Tan See Leng's speeches, he said, I expected Leong Man Wai to come with questions, which is why I've come with data.
Yeah.
But then you didn't come with that data.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, like, that was the whole crux of what Leong Man Wai was asking. And you can like, to a certain extent, I agree that when you keep asking that question, it does make people, foreigner, local, which is not healthy. But if you just provide the info that you have that supports the good work that you say your ministry is doing, why not disclose it early?
I mean, there is the argument, and I think Tan See Leng made it like 2 months ago as well, right? The argument that, I mean, they were debating a workplace discrimination, workplace fairness bill, right? What does this particular statistic have to do with it, right? Is it just someone trying to push a particular agenda in Parliament and jumping on the fact that the Minister of Manpower is answering certain questions, that he's going to just ask this question that, serves their agenda more than their own agenda? Because at the end of the day, every political party has an agenda when they play with statistics, right? That's what it is, a game of statistics. You choose which ones work in your favor. So if there was a strategic reason for Tan See Leng to not want to focus on that particular statistic just because someone else keeps asking it, I can see the strategic reason why he wouldn't want to immediately give it, right? And in some sense, maybe set it up for an occasion when he has a very good quote to put alongside that's a statistic, right? To sort of lay the smackers down on Leong Man Wai in Parliament and this barrage of like articles of everyone like praising him about this Andy Lau quote, right?
Yeah. So which brings us to the quote, right? So already, as you can tell, maybe like as I was watching it, I was like, wait, if this info, which is quite useful, was only brought about by Leong Man Wai's questioning, in some way, it reinforces the fact that opposition MPs, NC MPs must ask these questions because the data might be there and it might take a bit of probing to go, which is not a good precedent, right? But when he said the quote, right?
Yeah.
That was when I was like, fuck this shit lah.
Why you so fuck this shit about the quote? Because you didn't even understand what the quote was.
Because, like, right from the time I entered the workforce in Singapore, right, there were so many fucking times where I'm with colleagues who speak Mandarin, and in front of me, they speak Mandarin. And I fucking hated that. I had to tell them multiple times, to the point that I remember at least a bunch of meetings where we were talking with a client, and you know, like, you put speakerphone, the client is there, then after that you mute, and then the team discusses, right? They discuss in Mandarin, no? Then I'm like, okay, guys, I'm here. Can you all just repeat? Then, oh yeah, sorry, repeat. And on the same call, it happened. And it happened quite a bit. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves. So in this case, for Tan See Leng to use that quote is one thing. Then when, who suggested to translate?
I think Shiok Comment.
Shiok Comment, right? To translate. Yeah. He said, no, I've just summed it up. Then again, number two, strike one, you use that quote in a professional setting that not everyone understands. Strike two, you think it's not worth the time to explain it, and then you go on basing an argument on that quote.
I see.
So that one, you can call me minority, you can call me looking at it through my lens, but I was like, this is bullshit lah. This is bullshit. So that was my reaction to that lah.
Yeah, but 2015 wants you back lah, with all the DEI policies and all, because the world doesn't give a shit about that kind of thing anymore, right? English is the official language of America, and
exactly, it's also the official
country lah.
Official language of it's not the official language of Singapore.
I mean, it's the working language in Singapore. But what I'm saying, like, I mean, these days politics is about like majority rules. Might is right, right? You know.
Yeah, but then he was saying, you know, so much about how much he loves the country. We all are here to love the country. You know, don't do us against them. You literally did us against them in Parliament. Because in that moment, there was the people who understood it and the people who don't.
Correct.
So I think that is. At the end of it, I'm like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah. I thought, you know, I mean, I honestly thought that you were upset with the tone used.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as someone who sort of, I mean, my Chinese is not great, but I definitely understand it and all. And I've worked with people who, you know, speak Cantonese and all that as well. I mean, the tone is quite condescending.
It is, yeah.
Very least, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, and Cantonese is quite biting in the way that it scold people so in Cantonese, so it had that tone when he said it. And in fact, I can put up the link to the original line when Andy Lau says it in the movie. It doesn't even feel that condescending when he's saying it. Because that is like delivered between two gang people, and it's a bit more like a conversation. But this one, it felt like a teacher scolding a student. So I did feel the condescension, and that's why I didn't really like it, because I felt like, I mean, it doesn't do anything for the debate, right? It's just sort of scolding someone in Parliament. But I get your point about it, like the non-translation part of it. Because even as Chinese, I don't speak Cantonese, so I didn't understand immediately, and I needed to like actually go and search quite a bit to even find that little clip from the movie and all.
Yeah, and this is just after he scolded Leong Man Wai for not using things that divide people.
Yeah,
that is, don't make things us against them. And you nicely go and do this.
Yeah.
And to me, right, that makes me look back at everything else he was saying with a bit more salt lah.
Okay. I mean, typically, I would call you a snowflake for having this kind of feelings.
I know,
but the official rules of Parliament are that speeches have to be delivered in our four official languages lah: English, Malay, Mandarin, Chinese, and Tamil, right?
Yeah.
So there is something that, you know, such a long quote that was said in a dialect in Cantonese in Parliament, just for theatrical effect, right? I think people have also been saying, hey, shouldn't this be censured by the
Speaker of Parliament,
right?
Yeah.
Calling for the decorum, or for Indrani to, you know, slam a foul or something like that, to say, hey, please behave in Parliament. This is not like, this is not a theatrical thing we're trying to do here, right?
Yeah.
So there is there is merit to what you're saying in you're not just being a snowflake. You are calling out even the official apparatus of Parliament about, hey, what's the policy regarding, you know, speaking dialect or something like that. Right?
And I mean, like, yes, Leong Man Wai sometimes goes rambling and all, and he needs to be kind of told, okay, just ask your question. Yeah. But the way the Speaker of Parliament talks to him also, maybe it was because it was happening a lot. I don't know, I didn't watch the whole 10 hours. But the other image is when Tan See Leng finished a quip, everyone in the background, you know, that laughter, right?
Yeah.
It brought me back to all those workplace meetings, right? When someone make a joke in Mandarin and laugh, and I'm just sitting there like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
What's the deal? Yeah. Because all them background, they were like whacking the tables and rostrums. Then Shanmugam also go and share on Facebook. That is another thing. Like
maybe he speaks Cantonese. I don't know. Maybe he enjoys Cantonese movies. We know he likes to watch French movies, but I don't know about Cantonese movies.
But that also feels his tone was also condescending.
I see.
You know?
Okay. So, but I mean, to be fair, sometimes like, you know, when Leong Man Wai, let's say someone at work just keeps badgering you with a certain type of question about a certain thing that is not relevant to what you're trying to your KPIs or your priorities at work, right? After a while, you also get very irritated with this kind of emails, right? Hey, stop bugging me, this is really not under my purview. It's not constructive to what we're trying to do here. I understand it's your KPI, but it's not mine, you know, and you get irritated with it sometimes, and you might end up like telling the person off, right? So, you know, the saying last time when we write essays in Chinese or that, and then it's completely, they give you a hypothetical question, and then you don't answer it properly, then the teacher can just give you a 0 and write there 文不切题 or 文不对题 which I will explain to you.
I was really like fucking twitching.
Which I will explain to you. I'm really sort of giving you the preamble, explain to you. It just means that you're not on point. You're not being it's irrelevant or whatever you're writing. You know, even if you write a whole damn essay, it's not relevant. So there could be the argument that he's just very emotional because Leong Man Wai has been going at it for so many months, right? And sort of trying to push a certain agenda, a certain question. I mean, Leong Man Wai, even at the end of his TikTok video in Cantonese, he said justice is in the hearts of people, right? And that is actually a PSP slogan that you go on his website, justice in the hearts of people, right? I don't really know what it means, but I think it just means that asking people to vote according to what they think is just, right? So maybe he comes from a place where he got very emotional about it, and this quip just came to him. Maybe he didn't prepare for it, and then, you know, unfortunately,
he was reading off his phone, so he probably Googled it or something.
I'm just saying, maybe in that instance, it's like, you know, I'm sure, okay, when you called out the people in your workplace for like speaking Chinese or that, did they change the way they did it?
Over a long period of time, but still need to remind.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, like it must be irritating, and I'm not saying I completely agree with Leong Man Wai's line of questioning, because clearly he was pushing something, right? But you know, we are supposed to hold our politicians to higher standards, right?
Correct. Yeah.
They are leading our country. You know, and Tan See Leng, you know, entered politics 2020, within 5 years became a minister. By all accounts, like supposed to be like,
successful businessman, doctor, you know, like came from poverty, I believe.
So, and I mean, if the way you talk to people can be so condescending, then I think that's a problem, because we keep hearing that we need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to. That's why they are elected officials, right? Because the electorate, you know, trust them by and large. They are voted in. So they do need to be held to higher standards. But if you can be so condescending and emotional, then are you the best person for this kind of role where it's part of your job to answer questions like this? And that's why it's a very sad thing to happen in Parliament, because you're not looking objectively at what Leong Man Wai was asking, which in itself has its own flaws. But the whole sentiment now is based on emotion. And as you can tell, to me, it was one of those unnecessary things that totally pushes me to Leong Man Wai. Because I'm like, hey, Tan See Leng, that was an asshole thing to do. Very condescending. And even after told by the Speaker of Parliament to translate, you make it seem like it's fine. I'm just going to give you the gist. So all the other people in the Parliament who do not understand, they are not part of Tan See Leng's tribe already.
I see.
So who is the one sowing discord? Who is the one pushing people apart?
I see.
So that's why I look at it, I'm like, then you are just, your points before that, you can agree that even the workplace bill, when he told Leong Man Wai, we are discussing this, and I think they were debating for 7 hours. I totally agree with that. You don't just shoot it out. But to me, you do this at the end, and then all the rest of your party members clapping and laughing. It's just a very
I mean, the whole decorum thing aside, I mean, we both agree that it shouldn't be part of the way that parliamentarians talk to each other, right? Especially in this age when we last saw Trump and Zelensky, the whole thing last week. And we were like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Then we see this kind of thing. I'm just thinking, should we celebrate this kind of thing, in Parliament when people are being condescending to each other or, using movie quotes to shut down each other and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's very becoming of parliamentarian behavior that way. But aside from the whole decorum thing, there's also the argument, I think, that interestingly came out in Cao Bao, I think the day after. Cao Bao is a national Chinese newspaper, right? That said that I mean essentially the summary. I mean, you don't have to read the whole thing, but the summary just does say that, hey, this question that Tan See Leng asked, or this quip that Tan See Leng made of Leong Man Wai, you could argue also that people could be asking that of the government as well, right? And I mean, it's in Chinese in front of me. I don't know how to translate it. And but just basically saying these kind of criticisms are criticisms that people can also say about the government. We raise our concerns, but you don't listen to us. You do already, you don't do it correctly, and things like that.
Then what you're made to do, right?
What you want me to do, right? So I thought it was quite interesting that came out in Cao Bao, right? Which is you would think it would be much more pro-establishment, but
and then for even Shanmugam to repost it, it just feels like you're egging on this kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And as one of the most senior members of parliament, to do this, it feels like, hey, this is like ganging up lah.
Correct. Yeah.
And even if you look at it strategically as a politician from the incumbent party, you do things like this, you are going to push people towards Leong Man Wai.
Yeah.
Or maybe their belief is that, that age-old belief that the electorate is divided into three. You have your supporters, people who always support you, the people who will never support you, and the middle ground. And this is just, strengthening the people who will always support for the incumbent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you look at it even as a layperson who might not dive into the details of what is being disclosed, it's a win for Leong Man Wai.
Yeah. Because objectively, even just not thinking about politics, right? I think one thing Singaporeans don't like is bullying behavior.
Yeah. I
think just from observations about how Singaporeans react to certain news events and things like that, they don't like it when someone's obviously being bullied, right? And I would say in this case, it really the feeling, the sentiment is there that it's quite bullying behavior, right?
Yeah.
And all the merits and demerits of the discussion aside, right? Just was it necessary to use this quip to humiliate someone in Parliament, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so not a great strategic move, I would say. And it felt more emotional than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just stupid lah. I was just stupid. It's like one of those, you do make a joke, and all your friends, hey, go on, bro. Go on, bro. But I
can sense a lot of trauma, man. I can sense a lot of trauma on your side.
Because it was very annoying. I don't know whether it still happens these days. I know we have made videos to make fun of it also.
Yeah.
Because it really makes you feel like an outsider. Yeah. And then it's like all this talk about we are Singapore, we love this country, let's not divide.
Yeah.
Everything just loses all the depth and meaning and substance.
Yeah. So I mean, in since we are in the Trump 2.0 era, I would ask the question, but you live in Singapore so many years already, and so many people speak Chinese and everything. Even our ancestors also probably spoke a lot of multiple languages, but you insist on not learning Chinese and don't want to learn Chinese, then isn't the fault on you already, right? I will use the same quote on you, I keep telling you don't want to listen, and then you listen already, you also don't want to do wrong and learn all the wrong things.
And you're telling me because you had to Google what that phrase means because your Cantonese is so perfect, right?
No, it's not. Right, I'm saying about the Chinese issue, about people speaking Chinese and all that, right? Do you feel like, have you ever felt like, hey, maybe I should be learning Chinese to assimilate in some ways?
Of course, you have the thought, it'll be a useful language to assimilate. But picking up languages as you get older is damn hard. And even my Malay is pretty shit, even though I studied it for 12 years. So I would just ask you to F off if you tell me that. No, and maybe that is at the crux of why there's all this tension between Singaporeans and foreigners coming to take our job, because there is always, we keep hearing on one hand that we are all Singaporeans, the compact, we're all Singapore, we love this and all. But then the reality is, we probably are more like an immigrant country than a country that has, full of like locals and all.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time we just have to accept, we are never going to be a country that is really for Singaporeans. We are like a New York City, people come and go, and we are an immigrant country. And I think things get confusing when there's the Singapore Compact, future Singapore, forward Singapore, we're all together, Singlish brings us together. But then you look at the stats, you're like, oh, actually, like we can't survive without foreigners. So then I think maybe that's the confusing thing.
And I mean, that's literally something that I think Lee Hsien Loong in a speech over the weekend also mentioned, how immigration is sort of in our DNA, right? I mean, hard to argue, right? Considering we're such a young nation and our ancestors did come from overseas. Right?
But so maybe we need to embrace that DNA, because, okay, in the Indian community, right, growing up, right, there's this fucking thing called Fair and Lovely. Have you heard of it?
No, I never heard of it. What's
it's this cream, right, that all the aunties and uncles, I think now it's probably been cancelled or something. Yeah. But it's this cream to make your skin brighter.
Okay.
So for the longest time, right, growing up as an Indian person, I mean, and like being a Sindhi, I think my skin color is darker than a lot of Sindhis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Sindhis in general fairer, right?
Fairer,
not Indians.
Yeah. But even when I was growing up and playing a lot of sports, I was darker.
Yeah.
People used to be, how come you're so dark? You're Sindhi. So there's this weird thing where skin color, the darker you are as a Sindhi, you are seen as, there's always this desire to be whiter.
Yeah.
And then it became like, we are Indian, we're dark skin. Like, why is the Fair and Lovely such a big deal? It feels like Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we got that confusion that is making people think of the country as one way, when in reality, it is not. And maybe the sooner we accept it, the better.
But what does it mean to accept it? Like, I mean, in some ways, we've instituted a lot of things like CMIO, ethnic housing policies and things like that. It's because we know that there are differences between races, but we try to institute changes to make sure that these differences are not glossed over, but sort of acknowledged and then built into the DNA of our country. So I mean, what does it mean to just accept that it's like that? That's what I'm trying to discern. Or is yours just an emotional reaction?
I think it's an emotional reaction. Or maybe that's too much of an extrapolation. Bringing it back to this, maybe it's like, don't say one thing and then do another thing. You say, don't engage in things that divide us, which is a very good thing to tell Leong Man Wai, because the more he was questioning, it did feel like, hey, this is really becoming a foreigner, local thing. So I agree with you, Tan Si Leng. But when you then do that, without even realizing it, then I'm like, hey, like, come on.
Yeah. You see the blind spots, right?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, then you just practice what you preach. So,
and I think, the being consistency in how the decorum of parliament should be upheld by the speaker and Indrani as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but like that. But I mean, over the weekend, did you at all your like gatherings with your fellow Chinese people and all?
Yeah.
Did this come up?
Yeah, people talked about it, and that's. I mean, the Zaopa article was alerted to me by someone, a much older person also, right? And someone who reads the Chinese newspaper, obviously.
Yeah.
That they found it interesting that even the Chinese broadsheet would bring this up and point out that it's kind of like, what's the saying? Like when you point at some
4 fingers are pointing at you.
When you point at someone with 1 finger, 4 fingers are pointing back at you, or 3 fingers are pointing back at you. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. Boom! I mean, that was the whole meme from 2012, was it? Anyway,
2011.
Yeah. But anyway, If this story riled you up, Harish, I can't wait for the discussion of our next story. If you were able to put the racial lens on that
was an appetizer, man.
This is the main course. But yeah, this one is another one, right? And I think it's you're ready to roll. Today is like you just hit the ground running, man. Monday morning.
I was running to the studio.
Yeah. What is this? What is this second story that promises to rile you up also?
I mean, it was also during the Committee of Supply debate. So Opposition MP Jamus Lim gave a speech that was calling for the reinstatement of Thaipusam as a public holiday.
Yeah.
but it was very quickly rejected by Minister of State for Manpower, Gan Xiaohuang, and who gave an explanation why. So, I mean, there were certain things I learned about the whole Thaipusam public holiday thing that I never knew. For example, I didn't know that it was a holiday all the way up to 1968.
Yeah.
Where there was actually a holidays amendment bill that featured the Minister for Law and National Development at that time, Mr. Barker, E.W. Barker, that talked about cutting the number of holidays in Singapore from 14 to 11, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was, the whole goal was because the British were retreating, there was a fear that, Singapore might not be as productive as they could be.
Yeah.
And that we should do all we can to make sure the productivity is as high as possible. So to reduce the holidays. And Edward Barker also did say that, in future, if there is if the country prospers and all that, it will be worth revisiting the reinstatement of holidays.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that as up to 1968 it was a holiday. But then, I mean, that was what Jamus was echoing, but it was rejected. So, I mean, as much as you say this would rile me up, I just thought it'd be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And again, the way it was rebutted felt a bit like, not the most convincing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, for you, what made you want to talk about this?
I mean, one interesting thing is Yahoo News did a poll.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Straight away, asking people, do you think there's a need for another public holiday in Singapore? I participated in the poll, so unbiased, but the result that came out was 93% of users agree that Singapore needs another public holiday.
But
6% doesn't, and 2% I have another opinion.
Well, who wouldn't agree to another holiday?
That's right. That's the thing. I'm just putting this statistic out there to frame the fact that who would argue against having another public holiday, even if it's for another race or religion or whatever? I mean, I love public holidays, right?
Yeah,
who doesn't, right?
Who doesn't? Yeah.
And but I just have to give a shout out to a secondary school friend who was recently featured in a Mothership video about Thaipusam. That he's actually a regular devotee. His name is Kuma. He's in this Mothership video about Thaipusam, and I watched that video and I actually learned a lot about Thaipusam in that one video. Right? Yeah, the very interesting thing about why they celebrate it, the rituals, and why he does it every year, right?
And what's the gist of it?
I mean, it's an act of devotion, right? That actually it's not just one day; it's like a whole month of prep, fasting and cleansing of the body and things like that. And it's something that you do that to not only show your devotion, but also it's a whole family thing, right? The family helps you do it, your friends help you do it. Even the piercing and everything on the body, you need someone to help you do it, So it's a community event, right? That they do together, and it's not just about showing your devotion to your God, but also it's a form of your family bonding together, Yeah. So I mean, similar to people going to church together as a family and things like that,
Yeah.
So there was some, I mean, I learned quite a lot from watching that video, and the importance of Thaipusam to them, which I mean, over the last couple of weeks I read up a little bit about. It's quite interesting. So
now you think Thaipusam should be a holiday?
I mean, I want a public holiday. And I mean, the arguments from Jamus were, they were there. They were pretty convincing, I felt.
Yeah.
The arguments that from Gan Xiaohuang saying no was more like, let's not move the status quo. Let's not upset the balance of things because everyone's going to start asking for everything, which is the whole slippery slope argument, right? Saying that if we give one, then everyone will start asking for another, which that's not a good argument, because at the end of the day, you're just extrapolating something that hasn't happened, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the crux of what Jamus Lim was asking for was to kind of not just make Thaipusam a holiday, but to reinstate more holidays, because in 1968. Each religious group was asked to relinquish one holiday. The Muslim community gave up Prophet Muhammad's birthday. The Christians gave up Easter Monday. And the Hindus gave up Thaipusam. So his whole point was that the Indian community has fewer holidays to begin with already. Because Chinese, you get 2 years for Chinese New Year.
2 days, yeah.
Oh, 2
years. We'd love to be on holiday for 2 years.
Yeah, 2 days. For Hari Raya, you get the 2 holidays as well for Muslims. For Indians, What he said was that it's Vesak Day and Deepavali, but Vesak Day is really not celebrated by that many Singaporean Hindus lah. So in essence, there's only one holiday for Hindus lah.
Yeah.
So Thaipusam would be a great second holiday lah. And yeah, then Gan Xiao Huang said that emphasizing the current allocation of public holidays was the result of careful deliberations and consultations with various religious groups. Stated that since Singapore's independence, leaders had made difficult decisions to ensure social harmony in a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society, maintaining the current balance has served us well, and it continues to be the sensible approach for Singapore.
Yeah.
So then, again, it felt like...
it's a non-answer. It's a non-answer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everything is sensible if you don't change anything. It all is sensible. Yeah, but it's just saying, let's keep the status quo because it's sensible.
Yeah, and then because Jamus Lim kind of referred to E.W. Barker's call that hopefully at some point in future, there will be a chance to relook the number of holidays. I think what he said specifically... was
if our island prospers,
yes,
I'm sure the government will ask me to come back here, and on that day it will be my pleasure to move amendments to increase the number of holidays.
So when Gan Xiao Hong rejected it, Jamus Lim again said, are there no economic conditions or no level of prosperity under which the government will be willing to consider the schedule of public holidays? And then she responded saying, the decisions had been made after extensive consultations and warned that revising them may invite competing claims from members of other communities, both religious and non-religious. We should not take Singapore's economic progress for granted and look to introducing additional public holidays at every opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think ChatGPT could have come up with a better answer.
This is it's a textbook non-answer, basically.
Yeah, like how is that supposed to be convincing? And again, is this question the make or break for Singapore? Do we need a public holiday? To me, I'm like, okay, it's a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
If we don't have it, okay, so... But the response is what makes me think we should have a damn holiday, man.
Yeah. I mean... The fact that she said, it may invite competing claims from members of other communities, both religious and non-religious, that's what I referenced earlier, a slippery slope argument, right?
Yeah.
Saying, but that's the whole point of electing you all in the office, right? Is that if there are things worth debating, you all should sit down, debate, think about how serious it is, and after that, think about what you want to do, any changes we should make to the constitution or anything. That's the whole point of electing public officials, right? We don't want you to just tell us that,
it's sensible.
We don't want to have other claims from people. We want to have people like raising questions and asking things, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I felt was a really, disappointing.
I mean, when they wanted to change the constitution to allow the president to have multiple roles in agencies, I mean,
you wanted to invite competing claims from other MPs and anything.
And I mean, that decision to not allow that was made after extensive discussions. And it is a sensible approach. But no, they changed it.
Correct.
You want to change the constitution to allow MCCY to have a greater say over social enterprises? But that decision was also made after extensive deliberation.
Yeah.
So it is a sensible approach, but it changed.
Yeah. And some people online did point out that we have had, public holidays like put up for, one-off kind of things. Like when SG50 happened, apparently August 7th was a public holiday as well. I don't remember, but I think it sounds right that SG50 that year, there was an additional public holiday on August 7th to celebrate it. So people are saying, we still survived that. It wasn't an apocalypse after that, all right?
Yeah,
did they invite additional... Was there campaigning for SG51 holiday or SG52 holiday? No, right?
Yeah.
But now, so it's not the end of the world if we introduce one additional public holiday.
Yeah.
And if it sort of, brings all the different religions or races closer to par, right? In terms of being equal. Why not? Why not consider it?
And in fact, of all holidays, I think the people who participate in Thaipusam, they need a holiday.
That's why the video you watch, when I watched it, I was like, oh shit, it's not just like a day, it's like a month of prep.
Yeah, like for Deepavali, you just eat a bunch of like sweet stuff, savory stuff, and then just like sit on your ass, go to different houses and all. But
that's basically Chinese New Year, right?
Chinese New Year.
A lot of politicking in families also, but generally it's not physically taxing that way.
Yeah, but Thaipusam is insane. So again, this was just a question, but the response, like, oh my God. Is it because there's so many things they need to deal with that this one, they just ask someone from their team, it just come up with an answer that will just deflect lah. After a few weeks, no one will care and all. But it just builds up like, walao, at least give a better answer lah.
But can't the same be said about Jamus and Workers' Party?
Yeah.
Like, why is this even a discussion? It's like, imagine us asking, can St. Patrick's Day be a holiday because, Irish people, there's Irish people in Singapore, or Oktoberfest can be a holiday because there's German people in Singapore.
Yeah.
Is it in that line of questioning, you think?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, that was what she was saying, right? Which does have some validity.
Does it? Really?
No, I mean, it's like, if you want to add a new holiday, then, there needs to be a clearer understanding why. And I think even if you massage what she said in a way that is a bit more thought out, you can come up with an answer that feels a bit more substantial.
But I don't think there's validity in what I just said. Because at the end of the day, Thaipusam is, Indians are part of our population, right? CMIO, one of the key demographics. Whereas like Germans or Irish or what, they're not, right? We don't have to cater to their festivals are.
That's true.
But if Thaipusam means a lot to the people here, then it's something that we should discuss. We should discuss lah.
Yeah, because you can always put a guardrails around it lah, right?
Put parameters and then discuss lah, right?
I mean, the campaign for diabetes only targets Malays and Indians, right? Right.
Yeah. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can ring fence things like that, actually there's no reason. Right?
There's no reason. Yeah. So I don't like this kind of slippery slope argument. We don't want to invite more competing claims. Yeah, don't like it.
Yeah lah. That's why it just feels like. I mean, I think there's no one even questioning. Yeah, Jamus, why bring this up? And I think that is something that boggles me about politicians when they answer like this. Just a well-crafted answer could make the argument more about what is being discussed as opposed to immediately pushing people to one side. Because no one is really saying, hey, Jamus, why you bring up this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Is this really the biggest problem? Have you noticed in the Indian community, people feel like they're very wrong that Thaipusam is not a holiday?
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me. I mean, okay, I don't celebrate Thaipusam.
Yeah.
So there's less of a obvious thing for me lah. But it just felt like it's out of the blue. But then it just highlights a response which is just makes you feel like, oh, fuck, like it's just a shit answer lah.
Yeah. Out of the blue indeed lah. From Workers' Party blue lah. Right?
Out of the blue. I mean, then maybe that's a tactic, right? You just ask these questions to press the buttons and you reveal like this sort of like, I mean, let's say for going back to Tan Siew Ling, he was visibly angry, in responding to Leong Mano, and Mano just came and just asked the same question again. Like,
yeah. Right? But that's where the question is, are these questions coming out of good faith, or is it
that's the thing lah.
Is there agenda to sort of drive a wedge between groups of people, right?
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, I mean, like, the whole, last year when we were debating the whole Deepavali versus Diwali debate, when people were saying, there were people online who were asking, why are we calling Deepavali Diwali now? Is it because of immigration policies and things like that? So it went to quite a dark place, right?
Yeah.
When we were just having a discussion about it, like, oh, I didn't know that it was a differentiation between northern and southern Indian, right?
Yeah.
So could there be the argument that this kind of line of questioning from Jamus drives a wedge between groups of people also?
I think you can. There is a point in highlighting that.
I think some people did mention that maybe a better person to have answered this question was not Gan Xiao Huang. Maybe they have got Murali Pillai or even Shanmugam or what to answer this, right?
Yeah.
But coming from the community of Indians.
No,
also.
But she's from Ministry of Manpower. She's
correct. But again, like, the optics of who answers certain questions is also, it's a real thing in politics, right? Optics of who.
I don't know whether someone else can answer, because this was a question that came up during the Committee of Supply for Manpower.
So it had to come from there. Yeah.
So then it becomes the thing, is this a strategic thing to ask this question and let a non-Indian person answer? Then it becomes fucked up. Yeah. Then it's exactly like what you said. When you watch Trump and Zelensky talk, it's horrible lah. But if that is the trend that politics is going, especially when everything is televised, everything is made into sound bites. Tan Siew Ling's quip is now has gone viral on social media.
Yeah.
It's just unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think there's total validity in questioning, hey, how come Jamus bring up this thing?
Yeah.
Hey, how come Leong Mano keeps asking this thing? Because it feels like, he's just pressing this button.
Yeah.
But it all gets lost.
Yeah, it gets lost.
It gets lost.
Well, but Yeah. It's speaking of questioning, right?
Yeah.
What is your one Shiok comment of the last few days?
My one Shiok comment. Let me see. I pulled it up. You have yours?
Yeah, kind of. I think one interesting thing is, someone on our Yalla But, latest one with the one that we did live, someone said, D61 Helix said, "Hey guys, I love this format and the interaction from the audience. Maybe have more live podcasts with audiences calling in and commenting, more raw like that." So yeah, I think even when on the day of the live show itself, people gave us some direct feedback about what they like to see at other live shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it's pretty cool that people enjoyed the live show format and want to see us to try different things with it, which I guarantee we will. We will keep trying. We'll keep doing fun stuff in the live shows, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, more live shows, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so my one Shiok thing was on the Reddit thread for episode 626, the lapses revealed in NRIC unmasking issue. So available _@ 9766 wrote quite a long post saying, after listening to the podcast, I downloaded and read the report on Accra NRIC unmasking labs.
Wow.
And they go on to kind of talk about what they learned from the report, including, they felt they gave too much credence to what MDDI gave as their version of the events. And they quoted certain things from it, and at the end of it, they were saying it made them wonder whether or not there was just the motivation to comply, but some personal ambition by Accra leaders to be the first to comply. So basically, they listened, and then they went to read that report, which is not the most exciting thing to read.
Yeah.
And then they quoted page 23 of the report, which says, and I quote, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh shit, that's cool, man.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, so good on you, man, to read. And we put the link to the report also.
Yeah.
So I guess that's great, That's great. That's all we want to encourage.
Yeah, I love it that we're inspiring people to dig a little deeper in everything they read also, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did put a link. Maybe it's outlets like Straits Times. Take a page from there, put the links to the report that you quote. Put links to the reports that you quote.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. All right, cool. And what about your one Shiok thing?
In the spirit of digging deeper as well, one of the YouTube channels that I used to follow because they talked about how to be charismatic and how to have pickup skills, right? As in simple pickup kind of skills. This channel is called Charisma on Command, and it's been around for a while. I think I've shared with you some of the videos before. But over the years, they made videos a lot about analyzing pop culture and just seeing how you can be more charismatic in your day-to-day life by observing how celebrities or even characters in movies, how they behave, and then learn how to be a bit more convincing, a bit more charismatic in your interactions with people. Well, they just recently did a video called The Art of Destroying the Deal, where they broke down what Zelensky did wrong in his interaction with Trump, in the negotiation with Trump.
Oh, right? Is it?
And talking about why Zelensky did certain things wrongly that sort of destroyed the deal. And then I went in thinking that, oh my God, this is probably another very pro-Trump, pro-MAGA kind of video. But it wasn't. It was actually he actually really analyzed it, and not from whether the deal made sense for Ukraine or US or whatever, but more from the body language, what Zelensky was doing and saying to Trump and things like that led to the whole fiasco that happened in the White House, right? So it's more really a negotiation tactical kind of discussion that he did, which I thought was quite interesting.
But that means it was with the what Zelensky could have done to get the deal going. So it's just accepting that the deal is still a good thing.
No, so it tries to be agnostic about what the deal is, right? But just because he actually watched the parts before the whole fiasco happened, and what Zelensky was doing, I think he was showing images of Ukraine soldiers to Trump and all, and saying I think the question is how does that really help the negotiation? If it was meant to be a negotiation, does it make you look stronger or weaker, or put you in a stronger or weaker position? So it was quite interesting in that sense, looking at it from that angle rather than just from it's bullying behavior, so fucked up everything. But also understanding hey, you enter a negotiation or you're doing this kind of things, you are doing a press conference in a way, right? And you want to achieve something from it. Like, what tactics should you use to get what you want from it, right? Especially when you're walking in with a personality like Trump and JD Vance, right?
Yeah.
So it was just an interesting analysis in that way that I walked in thinking that, oh, this is going to be some like pro-MAGA thing, but it wasn't, and it was a bit more measured than that.
Yeah, but did they kind of talk about what Trump did? Oh no!
Yeah. They did mention about the reactions there and then how to de-escalate the situation and things like that. Yeah. So it was quite an interesting video.
Oh, yeah. And how long is it?
This video is 16 minutes long, so it's not that long.
Minutes. Oh, okay, cool.
So what is your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is there's this channel that I chanced upon called Brief But Spectacular. And the video that I saw and I watched was this video with Michael Lewis, who, I mean, I don't know his name. I didn't know of him before, but he's the author of Liar's Poker, Moneyball, and The Big Short.
Yep.
You know Michael Lewis?
Yeah, read his books. Yeah.
Oh, you read his books? Yeah. So, I mean, this whole channel, I think what they do is they interview, well-known personalities for their brief but spectacular take. So this video is just 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And Michael Lewis, having worked on Wall Street, written books about Wall Street, like The Big Short, which is one of my favorite movies. He said his take is that the problem with like Hollywood, politics, and Wall Street is that people are so afraid to look stupid by admitting they don't know stuff that it leads to a lot more stupidity. And that's a problem that's becoming bigger and bigger. So, I mean, and he goes on to explain it very eloquently. And I was like, oh, actually, this channel is pretty cool because all these people have done cool shit. It's been Emmy nominated as a interview series. Yeah. And the videos are pretty short. So it's all spectacular, brief but spectacular takes. So
what's it called again?
Brief but spectacular.
Okay.
So they interview people like Bryan Cranston, Melinda Gates, and it's just interesting takes on a whole bunch of things.
And Michael Lewis is the host?
No. They interviewed him.
Oh, they interviewed him. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So, I mean, The Big Short was great. And I mean, he talks about it. That's why he says everything he talks about Wall Street and all, that he worked on Wall Street for quite a while.
Yeah.
And his whole take is that nobody understands the stock market.
Yeah. I mean, when starting out my career in investment banking, Monkey Business was like the book.
He wrote that?
Yeah, he wrote Monkey Business. And which somehow ended up, instead of being a critique of the industries, people read it as almost like a celebration of what the industry is. And I think he talked about being kind of disappointed that was the case.
Oh, is it?
People were actually celebrating the crazy behaviors that investment banking and all that, right?
It's like, Bombs Over Baghdad, the song by Outkast.
Yeah.
Which was kind of critiquing the war.
Anti-war message. Right?
Yeah, it became the anthem that
soldiers listen to.
Soldiers listen to it. What the fuck? I mean, it's a catchy song, but yeah. But cool, man.
Cool.
So
if you enjoyed this, please like, share, follow, subscribe, tell the algorithm you love this content. And if you want to work with us,
please reach out at contact@ministryoffunny.com or just drop us a message at ministryoffunny.com.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the end of the episode, and thanks so much for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to y'all soon.